What's going on, everybody? It's your guy Realistic, and I'm doing another tutorial for SoundOracle.net. And in this video, we're going to show you a couple cool tricks to parallel processing your kick drums. But first, before we get into that, if you're not already, be sure to subscribe to our YouTube channel. That way you can stay up to date with our latest videos. And also, if you don't already know, Oracle and I have an online mixing course out right now called The Art of Beat Mixing. It's hours worth of content, a bunch of useful techniques and processes to be able to professionally mix and master your beats. So if you want to check that out, I'll leave a link in the description below. So let's start getting into some of these parallel processing techniques when it comes to kick drums. The other day, I was mixing a bunch of kick drum samples for Oracle, and it got me to thinking that a lot of the parallel techniques that we use when we mix those could be useful if you knew how to do those as well. So that's why I decided to make a video this week on it. And there's a lot of cool things that you could do with it, because our parallel processing will allow us to do almost an over-exaggerated version of the mix on a parallel channel, and then we can blend it in with the original signal. So let's dive into what that will sound like. I got a track pulled up right here. It's using a loop from our latest loop pack, Orchestra Pit. I'll leave a link in the description below too if you want to check that out. So the kick drum isn't bad, but there's some things that we could do to add a little bit more punch and stuff to it. Now, as far as what I'm actually just doing on the regular kick drum here, I'm not doing too much, just kind of pulling out some resonating areas, a little bit of the boxiness here, just rolling off a little bit of the lows here. And then as far as what I'm boosting, not too much here, just a little bit of that nice clarity at 7K, and then just kind of boosting around that 90 hertz range. So I'm not really doing too much. And so what we'll do is we'll create a parallel channel. Now, normally what I'll do here is I'll just create an aux track, right? And that way, what I can do with that is I can save on some storage. You know, I'm not duplicating the track. I can save on storage. And then what I can do is I can put all my effects on this channel, and then I can just blend it in. But for the sake of learning, what I'm going to do here is I'm actually going to just duplicate the channel. But for the sake of this video, I think it's a little bit easier to visualize what I'm seeing here. So I think the learning experience will be better this way if you have this visual to go off of. And then also when I want to A-B between the two here, it'll be a little bit easier to show you what I'm A-B in there. So anyways, what we'll do is we'll start by throwing on an EQ here. And it really gives us a cool opportunity to exaggerate and overdo things a little bit, right? And so what we'll do is we'll engage our EQ, and then I'll put this on as a bell here. And then I'm going to excite some low end, but I'm really going to overdo it, right? I'm going to search somewhere between 60 and 70 hertz. I really want a nice low bottom here. So I'm kind of close to 70 right there, and I'm really exaggerating this. I'm probably boosting this by almost 10 dB. All right, and then what I'll do too is I'll roll off some of the lows. I'll probably go up to about 30 here. And then another thing that I'll do is I'll roll off some of the highs. I usually go up to about 5K. And then what I'll do is I'll pull out some of the mids. I usually kind of go for somewhere between 500 and 600 hertz, and I'll really pull those out, like a lot more than I would on a regular kick drum channel. Right, and I'm not pulling it out that drastic on the original channel, just on the parallel channel. And that way it really kind of exaggerates the lows, and then, you know, really kind of takes out some of that mid, so it kind of rounds it out a little bit here. So let's hear the differences of our kick drum with or without that parallel EQ. So here is what the kick drum by itself sounds like with no parallel processing. And then here is what it sounds like just as the parallel processing. And then we'll blend the two in together. And then you can kind of blend it in and pull the volume down a little bit. So now let's listen to this in the mix. And we could stop there if we wanted, right? And that could sound pretty cool as well. But another thing that we could do here is we could throw on some distortion on our parallel channel as well. Now, I purposely left this slot open in the beginning here because I want to show you two different options that we could do. We could put the distortion before the EQ, or we could put it after the EQ. We're going to get different results with the two here. So that's why I left this open, right? And it all comes down to taste and what you think would sound better for your track. But if we put the distortion before the EQ, we're not going to be distorting this exaggerated low end here, right? We're going to be distorting the signal coming in, but we're going to be EQing this after the distortion. So what's being distorted is then being boosted with the EQ. But if we were to put it afterwards, then all of this exaggerated sound is going to be distorted as well. And so it's going to give us an even more intense, aggressive feel because this over exaggerated boost is being distorted as well. So let's go ahead and we'll start here. We'll put it before, and then I'll show you by putting it after the EQ. And then you can use any distortion plugin that you want. Doesn't have to be Decapitator. Stock plugins work just as fine for this. So I'll usually kind of boost this up, be pretty aggressive. I'll probably go up to about 4 or 5 here. Okay, I think 4 is a pretty good spot right there. So here's without the distortion, and then here's with it. All right, and then I'll show you what it sounds like if we were to distort after the EQ, because now we're going to distort and excite all this extra boosting that we did here. So much more exaggerated, right? And that could sound cool. You might want to lower that down if you were going to do that. So that gives us a little bit more bite when it's after the actual EQ. If it's beforehand, we get a little bit more punch, and afterwards we get a little bit more bite. So let's listen to this in the mix and see what one that we like better. And then let's check it out with the distortion before the EQ. We'll probably have to increase our fader a little bit. For me on this particular track, I like the distortion before the EQ. On this one, I like the punch. I think it fits the vibe a little bit better. And then what we do here at the end is we just kind of want to make some adjustments. Since we've added in this parallel channel here, we're going to want to turn down our original signal a little bit here, and then we'll kind of blend in our parallel processing here. What I like to do is I like to turn this all the way down, and then I like to slowly blend it in until it sounds it sounds good and kind of has a good blend to it. So I feel pretty good about where that's at right there. And let me show you before and after our parallel processing. So here's what it sounds like before we added that in. And here's what it sounds like after. And now let me show you what the kick drum by itself sounds like when we solo it with no parallel processing. And then here's what the parallel processing sounds like. And then here's what it sounds like together. And then one more time without the parallel processing. And then again with it. Just gives it a little bit more knock and punch to your kick drum. And these days, when it comes to parallel processing, I'm usually just focusing on parallel distortion and parallel EQ. I don't really get too much into parallel compression anymore when it comes to my parallel processing. It can give a little bit tighter sound, and if you do want to check out some stuff on parallel compression, I got a video that you can watch right here on that. But yeah, these days with how my taste is and what I'm hearing a lot of what's going on mainstream music, I usually just just stick to parallel distortion and parallel EQ. And like I said before, what I would usually do is I'd put this on an aux track, right? But it was just a little bit easier to show you visually and kind of A/B between them. But normally I would put this on an actual aux track, and that way you're saving on storage. So this parallel file doesn't exist and you're not adding more storage on your computer. So it would just kind of be like this right here, with it being right on this parallel channel. So that's the direction that I normally go for. But again, for learning sakes, I felt like the visual was a lot better. So yeah, hopefully you found this video useful and you got some good information out of it. Like I said before, if you're not already, be sure to subscribe. That way you can stay up to date with our latest videos. And if you did find this video helpful, be sure to hit that like button. I know it sounds crazy, but it really does help a lot to help the channel grow. Hey, thanks for watching. Be sure to subscribe to our channel right here so you can catch the latest tutorials on mixing, mastering, and production, and you can check out some of our suggested videos here, here, and here. And of course, if you're looking for premium loops and samples, you can find that at SoundOracle.net. We got plenty to choose from.